They were more than friends. They were sisters of the soul. But when beauty began to favor one, jealousy whispered to the other. And from that whisper came something darker. Hawa didn't know that her own friend Belkis had gone to a shrine to destroy her destiny. From that day, every man who came close to Hawa saw not her face, but the head of a goat, until one act of mercy broke the curse and exposed the true face of envy.
The air in the old village of Jaidan Kano shimmered with the scent of millet and wet clay. Children's laughter floated over the mud walls, chasing the sunset. And somewhere beyond the baobab, two young girls ran barefoot, wrappers fluttering behind them like the wings of small birds in flight. They were sisters, not by blood, but by something stronger. Their mothers had shared palm oil, secrets, and even sorrows. The girls grew under that bond, like twin vines wrapping the same calabash. Every evening, they fetched water from the clay well, always together, always singing. Their rhythm was perfect. One drew the bucket, the other steadied the rope. When one stumbled, the other reached out before the dust even rose. Hawa had a face so fine that even old men paused mid-conversation to say, "Subhanallah, this child is touched by angels." Her features were delicate. Her skin held light like morning dew on hibiscus petals. Belkai's was not as dazzling, but her joy could light up a room faster than a sunrise. She was the one who found laughter in everything. A mispronounced proverb, a goat tripping over a stool, or Hawa's failed attempt to carry two calabashes. Their friendship was pure. No envy, no pride. Just two girls building a world of dreams between chores and songs. When Hawa dreamt of becoming a nurse, Belkais vowed, "Then I will be the one who gets sick all the time, so you'll always have work." They sealed that promise with laughter and a shared piece of caliculi. Their mothers watched from doorways, smiling with quiet pride. "Look at them," they'd whisper. "They're more loyal than sisters born of the same womb." One evening, as they rested by the well, an old woman passed by. Her eyes were sharp, her voice soft like harmattan dust. "You two shine like twin moons," she said. "But remember, even the moon envies the sun sometimes." They giggled, not understanding. But heaven heard it, and heaven never forgets words like that. The years slipped by like dry leaves in the wind. Puberty came, slow for Belkais, sudden for Hawa. Hawa bloomed early. Her voice grew softer, her eyes deeper, and her presence magnetic. Even her silence began to speak for her. At the market, traders gave her extra cola nuts for blessings. At school, teachers smiled more patiently when she forgot her assignment. And when both girls were caught whispering during Quranic lessons, only Belkais got scolded. "You, come kneel in the corner," the teacher said, pointing at Belkais. "As for you," he added to Hawa, smiling faintly, "just don't do it again." That night, Belkais lay awake, replaying it in her mind. It wasn't anger she felt, just a small sting, like a mosquito bite on the heart. At first, she brushed it off. After all, she loved Hawa. She admired her. But tiny cracks began to form. Cracks that love tried to plaster over with laughter. When they walked through the village square, the boys followed them with eyes full of dreams. Love letters rained on both, but always more for Hawa. Sometimes, Belkais would open her calabash and find folded notes meant for Hawa. "Another one for you," she'd tease, tossing it lightly. "Ah, these boys will not let me breathe," Hawa would sigh, pretending to be burdened. They laughed, tore the letters, and swore, "No man will ever come between us. Not in this life, not in the next." And the wind, mischievous witness that it was, carried their words away. Their families adored the bond. Their mothers would say, "If only all friendships were like this, pure, honest, blessed." They braided each other's hair on festival mornings. They wore matching ankara. They prayed side by side under the same moon. But slowly, the world began to tilt. Every smile meant for Hawa started to feel like something taken from Belkai's. Every compliment sounded like comparison. Still, she hid her growing ache behind her laughter. Because how do you envy someone you love so deeply? How do you hate the very face you once defended? She didn't know then that jealousy doesn't arrive like thunder. It seeps in, drop by drop, until it floods the heart quietly. It began with a wedding that wasn't hers. Or rather, with a man who didn't look her way long enough. Muktar was his name, the scholar from the neighboring village. He had the calm grace of one who listened before speaking, and when he walked, even his footsteps seemed thoughtful. He had known them both since childhood. He often bought millet from Belkai's mother's stall, and sometimes sat under the neem tree to help them revise Arabic verses. They had both liked him. In that innocent way girls admire kindness. But only one heart he truly saw. He chose Hawa, not with loud words or gifts, but in the quiet way his eyes softened when she spoke, in how he'd carry her heavy calabash without being asked, in how he always said her name like a prayer. At first, Belkai's didn't notice, or perhaps she refused to. She even teased them both. "Ihan, scholar and songbird, you two are beginning to sound like a folk tale." They laughed, and she laughed too, loud enough to cover the tiny crack forming in her chest. But then came that day in the marketplace. The three of them had gone to buy cloth for Salah. The seller held up 2 wrappers, one blue, one red, and said, "The red will look fine on you, but this blue? Ah, it was made for her. It will make Hawa's eyes shine like evening sky." Even Muktar smiled and nodded. And just like that, something in Belkai's heart shifted. A small bitterness, quiet but sharp, like a thorn pressed under the skin. Days turned to weeks. The friendship stayed, but the air between them began to hum with unspoken things. Every kindness began to sting. Every laugh felt like mockery. Every compliment to Hawa sounded like an insult to Belkai's. The world kept choosing one over the other, not out of malice, just nature being cruel in its honesty. And then came the engagement. Muktar had sent his people to Hawa's home. The drums, the perfume, the joy, it was too much. Belkai's smiled through it all. She danced. But that night, when she got home, she tore off her geli and wept until her pillow was soaked. "Ya Allah," she whispered, "why her? Why always her?" For the first time, her heart answered, not with prayer, but with suggestion. A voice, old and sweet, slid into her thoughts. "You can change it. Beauty can fade. There are ways." She sat up, trembling. She didn't know where the thought came from, but she didn't chase it away. The next day, she went to the edge of the village. to the marketplace where old women sold herbs that healed and others that harmed. There, she overheard a whisper. "There's a woman by the river, in the tall grass. They say she helps those who've been wronged in love." She shouldn't have listened. But she did. That night, with a cloth tied over her hair and her calabash in her hands, Belkais walked past the farms, past the wells, past every place that used to make her feel safe. The crickets grew silent. The stars dimmed. The air felt thick, like it was watching her. She didn't turn back. The shrine wasn't really a shrine, just a forgotten hut covered in moss and whispers. Inside, the air was heavy with the scent of fire and decay. A woman sat in the center, her skin pale like old bark, her eyes white like milk. Around her neck were bones, small ones that rattled softly whenever she breathed. "Who seeks the hand of fate?" the woman croaked. Belkais hesitated, clutching her calabash. I want to be loved again," she said. "I want my beauty to matter." The priestess smiled, or maybe it was a grimace.
The girl swallowed hard. "My friend." "My sister," Belkais said. The woman nodded slowly, dipping her fingers into a pot of black oil. "Then we must balance the scales." She drew strange marks on Belkais' arms. Cold, sticky, alive. Then she whispered in a language that sounded older than sand. "You shall have Hausa's beauty's peace, but it will not come free. Every time a man looks at her, he will see what lies beneath beauty, the beast of the heart." "And what do you want from me?" Belkais asked, her voice trembling. "Only a little offering. Blood, once a month, at the well where you first met." Belkais nodded, too shaken to think. The priestess pressed a small charm into her hand, a smooth black stone with a single red line. "Bury this where Hausa's shadow falls, and speak her name. From that day, the world will not see her beauty again without fear." The wind outside howled as if warning her. But Belkais didn't listen. She left the hut with shaking hands, and something darker following behind her. That night, she stood before Hausa's home, heart pounding like a drum. The moonlight painted the compound silver. She whispered the name once, twice, 3 times. The wind stopped. The leaves stilled. And somewhere in the distance, a goat screamed. At first, it was only a whisper, a strange wind that followed her laughter. Then came the glances. Men would turn to greet Hausa, smile halfway, then freeze, their faces pale, their eyes wide like those who had seen something forbidden. It began at the market. Hausa was laughing with the trader about the price of groundnuts when he suddenly dropped his scale. His lips trembled. "Wallahi, I saw horns," he muttered, stepping back, trembling like a leaf. But when she looked in the small mirror hanging beside his stall, her face was normal, perfect, unchanged. The same thing happened again and again. Each time, the man would shudder, stammer, and walk away without explanation. At first, she thought it was gossip, maybe jealousy, maybe coincidence. But when her fiancé, Mukhtar, came visiting and froze mid-step, she knew something was wrong. He stared at Hausa, horror flickering across his calm face. Then he blinked, and it was gone. He tried to smile to cover it, but his hands were shaking. "What did you see?" she whispered. "Nothing," he lied, his voice cracking like dry earth. After he left, Hausa sat in her room, staring into her bronze mirror. The lamp beside her flickered, throwing shadows that danced like devils on the wall. For a second, just a heartbeat, she saw it. 2 dark horns curling from her reflection. Then gone. She screamed so loudly the night watchman dropped his spear. From that night, her life turned to silence. Suitors stopped coming. Neighbors began to whisper that she carried a jinn. Mothers warned their sons not to linger near her door. Her once beautiful laughter, that sound that could melt the coldest harmattan night, disappeared like a song forgotten. She turned to prayer. Morning and night, her mat grew wet with tears. The Quran stayed open beside her, its pages trembling each time the wind blew through her small window. "Ya Allah," she whispered, "what have I done? Why has beauty become my punishment?" Belkais, the one who cursed her, visited often at first, pretending concern. "Maybe you should rest," she would say gently. "You've been praying too much." But every visit only deepened the ache. There was something strange in Belkais' eyes, guilt wrapped in pity, something that didn't match her words. One evening, as she prayed, Hawa's shadow moved differently on the wall. It had horns. And when she turned around, nothing. That was when she stopped sleeping. Her mother began to age overnight from worry. And Mukhtar began to question heaven itself. It began with a scream so piercing it made roosters crow in confusion. Neighbors ran to her hut, clutching lanterns and Qurans. They found Hawa trembling by the mirror, clawing at her reflection. "I saw it. I saw horns. I saw blood," she wailed. Her mother prayed, her sisters wept, her fiancé ran. By dawn, the story had traveled faster than the harmattan wind. Men whispered in the mosque. Women crossed the street when they saw her shadow. Children pointed and shouted, "The horned one!" before their mothers slapped their mouths shut. And somewhere behind another door, Belkais, the cursed one, wept quietly. Not because she knew why it was happening, but because she loved Hawa too deeply to rejoice. Weeks passed, and no one dared visit the beautiful woman turned phantom. No one, except Mukhtar. Mukhtar was a scholar, tall and calm, with eyes that read people like pages. He came not for love, but for mercy. He'd known Hawa since childhood, remembered her laughter, her kindness, the way she once gave him her only wrapper when his mother died. He brought her food, and he prayed with her under the neem tree every sunset. He never flinched, never looked away, even when her tears fell hot and strange. "You are not what they say you are," he told her. "You are a woman fighting a spirit that feeds on envy. But remember, the spirit of jealousy must be starved with love." His words burned something awake in her, something old, something divine. Meanwhile, the jealous Belkais could no longer sleep. Every night she dreamt of the same thing, the old priestess laughing in the wild grass, her voice echoing like thunder. "Feed me, or I feed on you." Her body began to weaken, her eyes grew hollow, her beauty faded. Flies gathered at her door for no reason. Her food turned sour before it reached her lips. She went back to the well, the same well where they once sang together, and fell to her knees. "Ya Allah, what have I done?" she sobbed. "I thought I wanted Hawa's beauty gone, but now mine is gone too. I wanted peace, but all I have is madness." An old woman fetching water watched her quietly. Then she said the same words from years ago. "Even the moon envies the sun sometimes, but when the moon tries to shine alone, the world grows cold." That was the moment her heart broke for real. She ran, barefoot, desperate, through thorn and dust to the shrine in the wild grass. The priestess was waiting, older now, but her eyes still white and cruel. "You did not feed the spirit," the priestess hissed. "Now it feeds on you both. I want to undo it," she cried. "Please, I beg you." "Undo?" The priestess laughed. "Jealousy is not undone, child. It is confessed, cleansed, and carried like a scar." But Belkais wouldn't stop pleading. She tore her scarf, dropped her bracelets, and pressed her forehead to the dirt. Something shifted in the air, a faint smell of rain after long drought. And then the old woman whispered, "If you truly wish to free her, go to her. Wash her feet with your tears. Only truth breaks curses born of envy." The jealous Belkais staggered up, her heart pounding. She knew what she had to do. That evening, under a crimson sky, the cursed Hawa sat by the river, her reflection broken by ripples. She had accepted her fate, to live unseen, unloved, except by Muktar, who prayed beside her faithfully. Then came footsteps, familiar, trembling. Belkais appeared, eyes swollen, body frail. Without a word, she fell to her knees and clung to her, sobbing like a child. "It was me," she cried. "I buried the charm. I cursed your beauty because I couldn't bear mine fading beside it." The words sliced through the silence. Muktar closed his eyes and began to pray softly. "Ya Allah, you are the one who turns darkness into light. Let mercy reign here tonight."
Hawa lifted Belkai's chin. "You were my sister," she said, "and I still see you as one." She wept, not from anger, but release. And as her tears touched Belkai's hands, a wind rose, strong, sweet, and holy. The horns vanished. The air smelled of wild jasmine. The river glowed gold beneath the setting sun. They sat there, two women, one forgiven, one redeemed, both changed forever. Later, Muktar would marry the once cursed Hawa. But she would never boast of her beauty again. And Belkais, the one who once envied, became the midwife of every new life in the village, always whispering to the young girls, "Don't let jealousy steal your peace. Even the moon shines brighter when it shares the sky. Jealousy is a fire that burns the hand that lights it. True beauty is not in the face, it is in the forgiveness that heals it." If you enjoyed this story, please let me know in the comments section. Let me know your thoughts. Kindly share with your loved ones and encourage them to subscribe alongside you if you haven't already done so. Blessings.
Hello, friends. It's your personal person, Cha. Thank you for watching and for being a part of this family. Please like and subscribe for more wisdom tales. See you in the next video.